Hi, I'm Andrew Campbell, back with an all-new season of the Pioneer Made to Grow podcast. Join me and trusted industry voices on Canadian-made stories from east to west, on everything from agronomy and farm business to social impact and more. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Impact Farming Show. Today, we have an awesome guest with us. We have Megz Reynolds, and she is Executive Director for the Do More Agriculture Foundation. Megz, how are you?
I am good, Tracy. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
I am excited to have you back on the show.
I know,
been a
back.
while. Yeah, time flies. So why don't we get you to tell our audience a little bit more about who you are, what you do, your role with Do More Ag, all that good stuff.
Awesome. So I am a former grain farmer. I used to farm in Southwest Saskatchewan. And during that time, I got quite involved with creating content online, talking about what we're doing on the farm, why we're doing it. I didn't grow up farming. I grew up in a city. And so for me, it was really important to tell the story and kind of connect to the person I was prior to coming to agriculture. Even though I'm not still grain farming, this industry is my passion. Everything I've done since coming to this industry has really been to try to create a better industry and healthier people. So I started advocating for mental health while I was still farming, just through starting to realize some of those, challenges I was having, feeling like I had failed as a farmer when, the weather and the pricing didn't cooperate, understanding the isolation, dealing with burnout without even realizing it was a thing. I think, now we know it's an actual diagnosable mental challenge, but so that was kind of what led me into advocating for mental health. And then now, fast forward a couple of years, I am the executive director of the Do More Agriculture Foundation. So my main role would be creating new partnerships, fundraising, but being out and about around Canada. I do a lot of public speaking and workshops, really trying to get the information out there. Even though I didn't grow up farming, I didn't really grow up learning about mental health either. So having that initial conversation of, this is mental health, this is mental wellness, here are signs to look for in yourselves and others, here's how to start a conversation, some of those self-maintenance pieces, and just overall general good knowledge on how we can start taking care of ourselves and taking care of each other, and then helping to connect people to resources, and if there is a gap that we discover along the way, trying to create something to fill that gap.
Okay, excellent. So you kind of touched on a few of the pieces already, but let's say somebody's listening to this and hearing about Do More Ag for the first time. I think everybody knows about it, but can you talk a little bit more about the backstory, Do More Ag and their mission, how that kind of came about?
For sure. So Do More Ag, we celebrated our 5th anniversary or birthday this spring, which is exciting. And we were founded by 4 founders out of Saskatchewan, all connected to agriculture, either grew up on a farm, actively farming, or working in the industry. And it really stemmed from a direct message on Twitter to one of the founders. And it was an individual who works in the industry, not a farmer, but reaching out to see if Kim knew any resources to support a family and a community after losing a farmer to death by suicide. And above and beyond looking for resources and looking for support, he was frustrated that we keep losing individuals in agriculture to death by suicide. And it really felt like in 2018, 2017 that no one was really talking about it and no one was doing anything about it. And so Do More was founded to basically do more in the mental health and ag space. We were the only national foundation when we were created, and when Do More was founded, that was when the conversation around mental health and agriculture was really just getting started. The research from the University of Guelph that they did in, I think it was 2016, 2017, they released in 2018. Then the Government of Canada followed up with a study from the Agriculture Agri-Food Standing Committee, which, as I was still actively farming, I actually participated in that study and testified about mental health in Canadian agriculture. And so, you know, at this time, there was suddenly understanding that the need is here. It wasn't that mental health suddenly was more of a challenge than it had been in the past. I think we were just finally at a tipping point of, let's talk about it, let's do something about it. And so Do More operates on 3 pillars. The first being awareness, and that's, you know, us having a conversation today. It is our community fund where we bring mental health literacy workshops into rural communities across Canada. It is everything that goes online, whether it is someone talking about, you know, what they did for their mental health that day, or sharing a story, or awareness campaigns. And then our second pillar is community. And as we know, especially post-pandemic, community is not just a physical, that we can create community in many ways. And we are so good in agriculture doing that, right? We're so good at coming together and creating that community. So looking to create community around mental health in the industry. And then our third pillar are resources. Because mental health is health, it falls into provincial regulation as to what each province has. And so we really try to bring everything into one centralized location. It can be hard to find what's out there. Some provinces have really in-depth support systems for those in agriculture. Quebec being, you know, probably the prime example of having the most supports. We've had the Farmer Wellness Program operating in PI for 20 plus years. Other provinces have their own programs as well. So really trying to help connect people with what is out there. And then, you know, as I mentioned before, if we do find that there is a gap, trying to fill that gap.
Excellent. That was fantastic explanation. Okay, why don't we roll right in then? That covers the services, programs, what you guys do. Why don't we roll into one of your most recent announcements? You launched an exciting a new program, new tool. Do you want to share a little bit more about that one?
I would love to. And that really came about from, we completed a research project this spring looking at, you know, what impact has Do More had, what is still needed, how do we create areas for collaboration with everyone that's out there. And then last year, I've been with the foundation a year and a half now. So my first year was really, let's get myself across Canada, have conversations with as many people as possible, farmers, industry people, government, and, you know, we called it the listening learning tour of like, what is out there, what is needed. And from that, we heard a very strong cry for peer-to-peer support. But if I'm talking to a farmer in Nova Scotia and they're saying, I want peer-to-peer support, the next sentence is, but I don't want to connect to another farmer in Nova Scotia because they might know me, they might know who I am, I'm not comfortable with that. And so this June, we launched Ag Talk, which is powered by a company called Together All, and it is a national peer-to-peer support platform that is free for anyone 16 years and older. It's available in English and French, and it is fully anonymous, which, you know, removes that barrier. You can go and post, no one knows it's you. It's also monitored 24/7 by mental health professionals, which for me was really important, you know, with kind of what I've done through industry, my experience as a farmer, especially when I was struggling and reaching out for help. I wasn't reaching out to professionals. I was reaching out to other people in the industry that I knew had, you know, similar life experience. They could understand what I was going through. They could offer advice or just say, hey, I get it. I've been there. I made it out the other side. You know, things are going to be okay. And so we're already doing this online on social media, but we're all at different places in our mental health journeys. And sometimes that peer-to-peer support without the mental health clinician can involve a little bit of risk, not because somebody's trying to create that, but just, you know, how I would respond to something now, 5 years down the road, being in this role, learning so much more is very different than something I would have said as Farmer Megz when I was, you know, burnt out and trying to support someone else. So the mental health clinicians were very important for us. And then for us, the other piece with Ag Talk is the community piece. So you don't just need to sign up and be on the platform because you're looking for support. If you think you're in a place where you can offer support or you've been through stuff and you can comment or support someone that's on there, we really are encouraging people to sign up for that. The other thing that people can do through signing up is just read what people are sharing. And, that in itself, and for me, this has helped as well, but just knowing that you're not alone in what you're going through can be such an incredible way to just support yourself. You don't even have to be saying, hey, I need help, or can you give me some tips? Maybe just reading that you're not alone in what you're going through is just what you needed to get through that moment or to get through that day. So really trying to create that place to bring people together. It's not an app, it's a website. It looks like Facebook or Reddit. You can tag things. You can go outside of ag talk, the ag community, and go to, maybe you just want to talk about divorce, or maybe you're just lost a family member and looking for kind of that wider support network. There's on average about 10,000 users a month, and so there's a lot of people in that space that are connecting with each other and supporting each other.
That's amazing. I was going to ask you if it was an app or a website. So really you can just log in, create an account, log in, it's anonymous, and then you can just post and share and kind of have that community and somebody to go through stuff with. Is the concept?
Yes, and do that anywhere. So you can be in the combine, or you can be in the cedar, or you be in the barn, and no one needs to know that you're there, right? That you're on it, that you're using it. But you can connect whenever. It can be a resource to connect. Maybe you're already seeing a professional, but you could use some support between your sessions. Maybe you've gone to see your rural nurse or doctor, and you've now been put in a queue, and you're 5 months out from trying to connect to a mental health professional. This can be a great kind of interim as well. And one of the cool things, because now we're in the age of tech, is that there's software on the back end monitoring to make it safe as well. So if it's someone's first time posting, one of the wall guides, the mental health clinicians, they'll comment and encourage, interact. Yeah, it screens for certain words. So even if you say life is great right now, that will flag someone to go in and read the post in case someone is maybe talking about that they don't feel like life is worth living anymore, and then the mental health clinicians can actually escalate support or connect them to other people, or if the situation they feel that there is potential harm that could happen, then they can connect to emergency services as well. And so for me, that again was another really important piece that helps me feel safe, and that also protects the anonymity. So if there is someone trying to share their name or personal information, that will be taken out and removed from a post, just to really protect and keep everyone, that safe, anonymous space for everyone.
That's clever. Wow. And
Yes.
The anonymous part is great, because I know we've all had conversations with the programs are out there, there's counseling, but a lot of times people just, that's a big mental hurdle, right? Whether you're shy, whether you're extroverted to admit that you have concerns and to go see somebody. And if it's in the community, right? There's just, you just sometimes just want to talk and not have people know who you are, right?
Exactly. And there is, we do have more stigma surrounding mental health in agriculture than other industries, right? We're a resilient industry. Farmers, we have a lot of challenges. We suck it up. There's always next year. We get through the challenge and we keep moving forward. And so, yeah, having that anonymity, nobody knows it's you, can help try to remove some of that stigma barrier and help people feel safe to interact and post.
Fantastic. What a good initiative. Way to go.
Thanks. We just need people signing up now, because it's one thing to launch something. It's another thing to get everyone signed up and active on the platform.
Good. Well, we'll help spread the word
Yes.
today. So perfect. I know you have been attending a lot of trade shows and speaking events. I'm going to kind of roll a little bit here. What are the conversations you've been having with farmers? I know a lot of people are having tough years. It always seems like it's tough years, but wow, there's a lot of stuff going on. What have you been hearing from farmers?
Exactly that. We used to talk about that like once in 100-year storm, or, a couple bad years. And if you can just, get through those couple bad years, then you're set for, agriculture is a little bit, up and down, but usually you get like a chunk of good years. And it just seems like the hits keep coming and they keep coming more frequently. So, we're seeing less cooperation from weather. We're seeing, I'd say, more volatility with trade and with pricing. I mean, look at, the Ukraine invasion and what happened to fuel and fertilizer, right? It's seeding and planting. Um, so it just feels like and again, there's so much out of our control in farming, but that those factors are increasing. And so it seems to be hard just to get a good year. There's certain areas where they're in their third year of severe drought in Saskatchewan, where I used to farm. And because things are so spotty, I had a farmer reach out to me the other day and he was upset, and rightly so. And he said, Megs, like in this post, you said 3 years of drought. We've had 11 now years where we're under what we need for rain, and we're under average yields. And so it's just, a lot of producers are struggling to have all of those things that need to happen to have that really good year happen. And I remember, what I told the standing committee when they looked into it in 2018 was, you know, we had on those years where you have okay yields, maybe if the prices aren't there either, then that doesn't help, right? And so that instability and the stress that comes with that increasing. Um, one of the most incredible parts of my role and this job is people opening up and sharing their stories and being vulnerable with me. And I would say that's also part of the most challenging part of this job. Um, so over the past year and a half, finally getting to attend things in person again has been incredible. But in person, at trade shows, I'd say at least 90% of my conversations end up with someone sharing a story of losing someone to death by suicide. And so it's, you know, and that's increasing for the last couple of years, and we don't have statistics to back that up. I have conversations, and, there's a lot of the time it is men that are 65 years and older that are coming up to me. They don't quite want to have a conversation, and I'll start one. But they do want to tell their story and tell me about who they lost. We recently lost someone in Alberta in her 30s to death by suicide. And it's just, I would say it's increasing, and it's hard. And it's because things seem to be getting harder. And one of the things that I learned when I talk to mental health professionals is that farmers can be one of the more challenging is not the right term, but I guess higher risk groups to work with, because so many of us live at this chronic stress level without realizing that we're there. And so it can just seem like this one little thing, and we might spend decades of our life in this, extreme stress. So we're not dealing with moderate stress levels that are healthy and they're, help us be productive and engage in all of those things. We're dealing with chronic stress, and we never get a break from that. We're in that fight and flight all the time. And then it seems like it's one little thing. It could be the tractor breaking down. It could be, prices soaring on inputs or something. And that for someone is just it. That's they don't know how to do this anymore. And so, yeah, that bulk of my conversations, which incredible that people are sharing them. And I'm so thankful that people share them with me. The other thing that has come up a lot, and no surprise here, is farm transition and the challenge around that on both sides. That's one of those other challenges that is being added to everything else when it comes to what is weighing on people's mental health and affecting mental health.
Wow. Yeah. You know what? Such a rewarding job you're doing and making a difference, but also very challenging, right? It's hard to hear those conversations. Just listening to you, I'm going, oh my goodness, right? Wow.
It's hard not to, there's days where I'm standing there like, don't cry, you're going to make this person uncomfortable, don't cry.
Yeah. How do you not? I mean, I was listening
Sometimes
to
I do.
like tearing up. I'm like, oh no. Yeah. It's wow. Good for you, Megs. I know this is near and dear to your heart. You were a farmer, you experienced it firsthand, you're working with farmers. What is your hope? Why are you so passionate? O- what drives you really in your role?
That is a great question. I'd say what is my hope? And the hope of the foundation as well is that we don't need to be here one day. That
Mm,
we're all at a place where we've working together, we've all changed the culture to one where all are empowered and supported to take care of their mental wellness, and they understand how to do that, how to support others themselves and others in that journey. Um, I fell in love with agriculture coming to the industry, but I'd say my passion for the mental health side is really just what I've lived through. A big reason, part of why I'm not on farm anymore is that, how some individuals chose to deal with anxiety and depression, unhealthy coping mechanisms being used, it not being a safe environment anymore. And so, I think about the people that are in this industry and, in Canada and the US too, we're still 96 to 98% family owned and operated, even though we do have some bigger farms, which is awesome. And those are families, those are multi-generational families that they have trauma from what they've gone through, from what their parents went through, from transition, um, from just not dealing with things that have gone on with that could be severe drought, that could be, I look back to, for me in my career, that was a hailstorm that took 90% of our crop out at harvest. That for me was a little T, as therapists call it, little trauma. um, and just, we have so many families in this industry, and a lot of them are just not healthy, and how do we make them healthy so that they're great together? This is an incredible industry, and we're losing people from the industry for multiple reasons, but we also are at a place where we might be losing the next generation. And it's not just because of pricing, it's because there's so many factors that make it challenging. And if they've just been in an unhealthy environment because of that, why would you choose to stay there?
yeah. Agriculture is an amazing industry, but like you said, with everything internally and externally, it is very, very challenging. Very challenging. Is that putting it mildly?
Yeah, I mean, when I was, and we have so much of that, and I did it too as a farmer, right? Like, you wear your hours as a badge, like, oh, I worked this many hours and didn't sleep and blah, blah, blah. And, we don't fully understand what toll that takes on us. And, there is the mentality of suck it up. And I used to be the one saying, like, oh, there's always next year. And now I'm the first person to say, for sure, you need to have that optimism, but you also need to, at some point, once you're through whatever's just gone on, to hit pause and give yourself some grace to feel what just went on, to work through it with your family. Because what you experience, that's your truth, but maybe someone else is, they experience something else and it's a bigger thing for them. And how do you deal with that instead of just shoving everything down, because we're so good at that, right? Like, just shove it down, put a lid on it, and forward.
I agree. You kind of rolled perfectly into final parting words. If there's somebody in the audience that's suffering, that doesn't know what to do, what would you say to them? What would you recommend?
uh One, you're not alone ever. You'd be amazed to, one of the first things I do when I run a workshop is I ask 4 questions. By the end of the question, everyone's standing up. You're not alone in what you're going through. And don't isolate yourself. Have a conversation. It's better to talk to someone than no one. So who is in your circle that you can open up to? Women, we're better at this. We usually have kind of that group of friends around us that we're like, hey, let's go for a walk, let's have a conversation. But for the men out there, maybe it's easier to check in on someone that on a buddy or someone in the community. You might need to be the one to have the conversation, and that could help you, but maybe it's easier to check on them and say, hey, how are right now we're harvesting a lot of places. We, we had drought this year, you know, yields are way below what they wanted them to be. How are you guys doing? How are you feeling with everything? And maybe that opens a conversation. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. That's how we connect to each other. And in doing that, I guarantee someone else is going to share their story with you as well. You'll learn that you're not alone. And you don't need to be a professional to support someone. I'm not a professional. You know, there was an amazing thread on Twitter. I think it was last summer, and it was someone that worked in agriculture, I believe was an agronomist. She showed up on farm, could tell that the farmer wasn't doing well. So she said, "Hey, I've noticed, you know, this and this since I've been here today. Are you okay?" And the farmer said no. She, you know, not a mental health professional, wasn't sure quite how to have that conversation, but knew that he needed some type of support. And so she said, "Can we call a support line together?" And he was comfortable with that. She helped you know, made the call, helped the conversation get started, and then, you know, removed herself from the truck so he could have that conversation in private. It's a really good chance. He never would have made that call alone. There's also a possibility she saved his life by doing that. So you don't need to be a professional to help try to connect someone with support, and just check in on people. Check in on the people you think are fine, because we get really good at pretending that we're okay. It's really easy to, you know, sometimes throw a smile on. That's my armor. I can throw a smile up and it's like, "No, I'm fine." Like, you don't have to ask any questions. So check in on everyone and just, you know, open up and have some real conversations.
Those are great parting words. If somebody needs support, can you share some places to go? Can you share more about the community that you guys started? Leave us with those resources, please.
For sure. So resources, like I said, we've tried to bring everything into one place. So our website is domore.ag. There's a resource page there. If you're worried about keeping someone safe or yourself safe, 911. Coming in November is 988. That's going to be a national support line for anyone anywhere to call, which is exciting. You can connect to Ag Talk through our website as well, which is domore.ag/ag talk. And yeah, check in on each other. Your biggest resource are the people in your life that you can connect to with one call.
Perfect. Megz, thank you so much for the interview, spending time together, and the work you do. It's important, not easy, and I and the industry really appreciates the work you and Do More Ag does. It's important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tracy, and let's do this in person next time.
Yeah, finally, it'd be nice. All our previous interviews were done in person, so I'm looking forward to that as well. It's gotten easy. I mean, on the note of lacking connection, it's gone so easy. Everything I used to do was in person, and then the pandemic hit, and then it all went to Zoom. And you know what? It's very easy, time effective, cost effective to just do it this way, but it lacks the connection just the same as in person, right? So thanks again. I really appreciate it. And what we'll do is we'll share links to all those resources on this show page. So farmmarketer.com, go to Impact Farming, and then you'll find the episodes down the side. So thank you, Megz. I really appreciate your time. And thank you guys in the audience. If you like this as much as I did, please share it, because you know what? These resources are important to start the conversation and even to save a life. So thanks, Megz. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.